Gun! She's carrying a gun! Somebody call 911! Those words rang out across Ridgewood Park as Victoria Hale, the HOA president, shrieked while pointing at Alicia Price as she bent to grab the mail. Clutching her bloated 200-page rulebook like a weapon, Victoria believed she'd finally found the golden reason to drive Malcolm Price, a black man, and his wife out of the neighborhood once and for all. Within minutes, 3 squad cars screeched to a halt in front of the Price's house. Officers leapt out with guns drawn, and then something unfolded that left every single neighbor staring in shock. Have you ever seen one lie so convincingly that even the police believed them? What would you do if a neighbor twisted the truth just to destroy your family? Before we go further, what city or country are you watching from right now? Drop it in the comments. We love seeing where our viewers are tuning in from. And if you believe people like Victoria should never get away with abusing fear and authority, smash that like button and subscribe to Story Arc, because standing up to lies is how real justice begins. But to understand how it reached that boiling point, you need to know what happened the very first day Malcolm and Alicia moved in. The day should have been their victory lap, a dream fulfilled. After years of saving, the black couple finally had the keys to their perfect home. Malcolm stepped out of the truck with pride in his chest, but unease quickly replaced it. Every house looked eerily identical. Same trimmed lawns, same mailboxes, same flowers lined up like soldiers. It was less dream community and more cookie-cutter army base. Malcolm brushed it off, but the chill in the air deepened when he spotted her. Victoria Hale. She stood stiffly on her manicured lawn, arms folded, a thick binder pressed against her chest like it was holy scripture. Not a wave, not a smile, just scrutiny. Alicia, still in casual clothes after her shift, walked around from the back of the truck, her service weapon holstered at her hip, standard for a 20-year police veteran. Malcolm saw the exact moment Victoria's eyes zeroed in on the gun. The look on her face wasn't fear, it was calculation. Within seconds, Victoria clacked across the pavement in designer heels, rehearsed smile plastered on. "Welcome to Ridgewood Park," she cooed, shoving the massive binder into Malcolm's hands before he could speak. "I'm Victoria Hale, HOA president. This is your copy of our guidelines. Please read it thoroughly before unpacking." The weight nearly knocked Malcolm back. It had to be 200 pages. Before he could even flip it open, Victoria's syrupy tone sharpened. "That firearm," she said, nodding at Alicia's hip, "looks used. Fired recently, perhaps?" Alicia lifted a brow, cool as ever. "I'm a police officer. Of course it's been fired." Victoria's smirk widened. "Police, how fascinating. I've dealt with your kind before." The way she said, "your kind," carried a venom Malcolm knew too well. At one point, Victoria pulled a tape measure from her purse and bent down to their fence, frowning like a judge about to deliver a sentence. This might be a problem. We'll have to discuss it." Before storming off, Victoria listed a dozen so-called violations. Cardboard boxes that looked messy, pizza delivered to feed the movers, even the wrong shade of blue on their moving blankets. Each jab felt less like community rules and more like targeted harassment. "Expect to hear from our contractors," Victoria called over her shoulder, heels clicking against the pavement. The following morning, Victoria showed up again, this time dragging along a wiry man in an oversized suit. "This is Martin Blake from our safety committee," she announced proudly. Martin handed Malcolm a paper stamped with an official-looking header, Ridgewood Park Safety Committee. The notice made Malcolm's stomach drop. Mandatory fence replacement within 30 days. Estimated cost, $50,000. Malcolm sputtered. 50 grand for a fence? Victoria's smile widened. "Not just any fence. These are new safety standards, especially important since a police officer is living here. For your neighbor's protection, of course." Malcolm stared at the so-called inspection notice, still trying to process the absurd figure. $50,000 for a fence that's perfectly fine? He muttered. Victoria only leaned in, voice dripping with smug authority. "Oh, but it doesn't meet our new standards. And since a police officer is living here, the requirements must be higher for everyone's safety." She slipped a glossy brochure into Malcolm's hands. "Luckily, we've got a certified contractor, Secure Home Solutions. They're the only company approved for Ridgewood Park." Malcolm's skin crawled at how rehearsed it all sounded. "And if we don't use this company?" he asked. Victoria's smile flickered, then returned. That would be unwise. Any other contractor must go through approval. That could take months. Meanwhile, you'd be fined $500 every single day your fence remains non-compliant. The threat hung heavy in the air. After they left, Malcolm crossed paths with Frank Dawson watering his lawn. The man lowered his voice to a whisper. Just pay it. Trust me. The Johnsons fought back last year. They lost their house. Then he hurried inside, afraid even to be seen talking. But Malcolm wasn't about to roll over. That afternoon, he dug into Secure Home Solutions online. On the surface, the site looked legit, but every testimonial came from residents of Ridgewood Park, and all sounded eerily similar. Then he found it. The registration papers. Owner? L. Hannity. It didn't click until he stumbled on a wedding announcement from years back. Victoria Hannity married Edward Hale. His heart raced. Secure Home Solutions was Victoria's own company, hidden under her maiden name. The entire scheme was a setup. When Alicia came home, Malcolm laid out the files. She skimmed them, her jaw set. This is fraud. She's milking the HOA to feed her own company. Malcolm expected her to explode, but Alicia leaned back, eyes steely. We do this my way. Make her think she's winning while we build a case she can't escape. Then she held up her phone. I checked that name. B. Miller, civilian assistant, fired 20 years ago for evidence tampering. Malcolm's stomach dropped. Victoria, Alicia nodded grimly. She's not just an HOA tyrant. She's got a history. By day 5, Malcolm had been recording every interaction, quietly stacking evidence. One clip even caught Victoria's distinctive laugh in the background, a cackle she'd let slip while gossiping with another neighbor about dealing with the new residents. Victoria's next strike came online. Malcolm found her post in a neighborhood group Frank slipped him into. Concerns about new neighbors. It read, twisting lies to paint Malcolm and Alicia as hostile intruders. It didn't stop there. By noon, Malcolm's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Friends, co-workers, even distant relatives were texting links. Victoria had gone live, her house perfectly framed behind her, pearl necklace shining, voice trembling with fake fear. I didn't want to go public, she said, dabbing her eyes, but I feel unsafe. My new neighbor has been recording me secretly, and his wife, a police officer, carries a gun everywhere. I'm intimidated in my own community. Within hours, her stream exploded. 10,000 viewers, then 20, then 50. Comments flooded in. That's harassment. Stay safe, Victoria. Malcolm felt the walls closing in. The same playbook Victoria had used on the Johnsons was now targeting them. But Alicia, she stayed ice calm. Let her dig her own grave, she told Malcolm. Still, that evening the call came in. Alicia's supervisor informed her there were formal complaints, dozens of them, pending review. Malcolm saw something break in his wife's composure. Not fear, but wait. 20 years, she whispered. 20 years of service, and some suburban scam artist might take it all away. Day 7. Everything came to a head. It started with Victoria's 911 stunt. Alicia had just pulled into the driveway, still in civilian clothes, her service weapon holstered like always. She bent down to pick up the scattered mail. At that exact moment, Victoria burst from her front door with her phone recording. Oh my God! Victoria shrieked. She's pointing a gun at me! Somebody help! Alicia straightened, confused. What are you talking about? I'm getting the mail. But Victoria was already dialing, voice shaking with manufactured terror. Yes, 911, my neighbor's threatening me with a weapon. She's a police officer, but she's gone rogue. Please, send help before she shoots me. Malcolm ran out just as the first sirens cut through the air. Within moments, 3 patrol cars screeched to a stop. Officers leapt out, guns drawn, shouting, "Drop the weapon! Hands up now!" Alicia froze, calm but firm. I'm a police officer. My badge is in my back pocket. I'll move slowly. Don't move, a rookie screamed, his own weapon trembling. The tension was razor sharp. Neighbors crowded the sidewalks, phones recording every second, and then one voice cut through the chaos. Stand down! Lieutenant James Porter pushed past the younger cops. He'd been on the force for 25 years. His eyes landed on Alicia, and his face went pale. Stand down! All of you, stand down right now! This is Chief Reed, the chief of police. The change was instant. Guns dropped, voices faltered, and the aggression melted into pure horror. The rookie who had been shouting moments earlier looked like his knees might give out. And that Chief Reed, he stammered, eyes wide. We got a call. James swung toward Victoria, his glare sharp enough to cut glass. Ma'am, did you really dial 911 to claim the chief of police was threatening you? The same chief who was sworn in last month? Our new commanding officer? Phones were still recording from every angle. Dozens of neighbors caught every word, every twitch of expression. Victoria's face shifted like a slideshow. Shock, confusion, denial, then something darker. Her wide-eyed panic hardened, and Malcolm saw it happen the moment she decided to flip the script. Her mouth curved, not in fear, but in a smile calculated like a chess move. "Well, isn't this convenient?" she said, her voice carrying across the sudden silence. "So you're the new boss. How perfect. A police chief using her position to intimidate innocent homeowners. Exactly what I've been warning people about." James's glare could have melted steel. "Ma'am, you just made a false report to 911. That's a crime." Victoria clutched her chest, tears ready on cue. "I felt threatened. Citizens have the right to call for help, don't they?" She advanced on me with a gun. I feared for my life. Malcolm watched the crowd waver, torn between Victoria's act and the truth unfolding before them. But Alicia didn't take the bait. She raised her voice so every phone could capture it. "Lieutenant Porter, please document everything. Every call, every statement, every video. We'll handle this by the book. Complete transparency." Victoria's confident smile faltered. For the first time, Malcolm saw fear in her eyes. She'd wanted a spectacle, but she'd just handed Alicia the stage. Day 8, the hammer fell. Alicia sat at the kitchen table in her pajamas, staring at her phone. The email was blunt, cold as stone. Suspended pending investigation into conduct unbecoming of an officer. 7 days of forced leave while the complaints were reviewed. Malcolm watched as 20 years of service weighed on her shoulders. Alicia didn't sob, didn't break down dramatically. Tears just slid quietly down her cheeks. 2 decades, she whispered. 2 decades without a blemish. Day 10. City Hall overflowed with reporters, cameras, and restless citizens. What began as Victoria's petty vendetta had blown up into a citywide scandal. Mayor Whitaker called the press conference, claiming it was to address concerns. Mayor Whitaker attempted to frame the controversy as a routine matter of accountability, while Victoria Hale took the podium to portray herself as a victim. She accused Chief Alicia Price of abusing her badge, painted Malcolm Price as hostile, and demanded Alicia's removal. The event shifted dramatically when investigative reporter Samantha Cruz confronted Victoria and the mayor with evidence from a decades-old case. Cruz revealed documents and affidavits linking Victoria to tampered evidence in the Jerome King case, which had wrongfully sent an innocent man to prison 20 years earlier. She also exposed financial records showing Victoria's husband received a $200,000 payment from a shell company tied to Whitaker shortly after the evidence disappeared. The revelations sent the room into chaos. Reporters pressed for answers, the mayor's composure collapsed, and Victoria grew increasingly desperate. FBI agents then entered the chamber, confirming an ongoing federal corruption probe into Whitaker and his allies. Chief Alicia, despite her suspension, addressed the room, affirming that the investigation stretched far beyond the HOA scam and into City Hall itself. By the end of the day, Mayor Whitaker was led away in handcuffs, and Victoria Hale's live stream denials only amplified the public's outrage. What began as a neighborhood dispute had exposed a deep web of corruption, leading to federal charges, multiple convictions, and the collapse of Victoria's influence. If you think Victoria got exactly what she deserved, hit that like button and subscribe to Story Arc, because standing up to corruption starts with telling these stories.